And then the doors opened up. And I was like, what the? What? Hi, everybody.
Hello, Marvel heads.
Oh, I'll still never get used to that. But welcome to the Marvelous Donohues. If you don't already know,
I'm Tom.
And I'm Cathy. See, I threw him off. I didn't say
Oh, we did it a little different this week. Did you guys
That's
catch
right. Yeah. But listen, today we're going to be diving into part 2. And if you have not seen part 1 of
episode 6 of Loki,
go back and watch it and then come back here. And,
that's right. We'll still be here. So go back now, stop watching, go back and watch that, and then come back. We'll wait for you.
Okay, no, we're not. We got to keep going. But come back and watch this episode. And as per usual, we're going to tell you guys that there's going to be a lot of spoilers in here with a lot of information. That's why we had to make it into 2 parts.
That's right.
Because it's a lot to unpack.
That's right. I don't know about you all, but listen, I had to take a nap after I watched the episode. It was, that's a lot going on.
He did. Y'all know he liked to sleep. So he did have to take a nap. But since I drove on part 1,
that's right.
Tom's going to take over. I hear your keys. He's going to drive on part 2.
Cool.
And let's get started.
Well, we left our, I guess I'll call them heroes, Loki
heroes.
and Sylvie.
I like it.
Loki and Sylvie.
Pseudo-heroes.
They're in the castle.
Mm-hmm.
They're talking to this, as we talked about in the last video, this kind of what I would call super chill timekeeper.
Mm-hmm.
But here we're gonna have a different slant on the video. We're gonna kind of take a little bit of a deep dive on the timekeeper, and he goes into kind of the origin story of what was going on. He was
the origin story.
He was from 31st century Earth, and he kind of explained the world that it was kind of philanthropic. People try to learn from each other, help each other, but it was kind of a shallow world. It was he used the phrase self-congratulatory. So it's like, hey, you're looking good, and that sort of thing. And then things started happening. People started to look for ways to be in control, be in power.
Yes.
And they started what really amounted to a multiversal war.
Multiverse.
And in the timeline. And, he had centuries and eons of managing this timeline. And long story short, won't go into all of it today. He's an old man. He looks really young. I mean, he looks like he's in his 30s. I don't know. But, he says to Loki and Sylvie, look, I'm an old man. I'm tired. And what we come to find out is what? What do we come to find out?
We come to find out that even though they thought that they had did this journey on their own,
right?
He had actually, what do you call it? Instrumented the entire thing. He designed it, and had been designing it. And this is one thing that I was thinking about, that he said to them, right? So he's telling them, he was like, okay, he was actually from Earth. And that's what I was like, he from Earth.
Yeah.
He was a scientist. He discovered this multi-level universe. Things got out of hand. And then he had to squash everything by kind of creating, he found a monster, right?
Yeah.
He found that monster that we was talking about in the last episode.
Aeoloth, I think I'll say it that way. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right.
Yeah. And he was in charge.
Yeah.
And he created the TVA, right? And that's exactly what Sylvie wanted to hear. You're the one. You're it.
Exactly.
You're responsible.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So he's like, I have been looking, like Tom said. He's like, I'm tired. I'm old.
I'm looking for someone young and hungry.
Those were his
and we directed your steps.
Right.
To get to the castle, to get to me. And you know what I thought about? I thought about how often or how many other variants had been put to the test.
Right. And didn't pass.
Yeah.
You
know.
Mobius talked about, through one of the other episodes, how many Lokis had escaped. They had seen different types of Loki variants. And it made me think, was the timekeeper doing this to try to find
the
replacement for himself, thinking that he had seen tons of these Lokis and they had what it took, you know? That's what I kind of got out of it. I don't know.
Yeah, what as we talked about the conversation that they all had, he had a very interesting proposition. And if you remember Loki at the beginning, and I'll use the episode 1 Loki versus now, because he, as we talked about conditions, he was shaped by his conditions. He was shaped by his we'll use trials and tribulations, whatever happened to him along the way. And he had a very interesting proposition. He says, look, you guys are worthy.
Yes.
You know? So you've got a choice to make. And he called it a gambit. And his gambit was, look, you can take over. You're young and hungry. You guys can take over and keep, I don't even know if I want to call it the peace of the timeline, but you can keep it going. It may not be the best of all possible worlds, but it's the least violent or the least problematic of all possible worlds. Or you can kill me, and guess what? You can have a timekeeper, me, another version of me.
Yes, another version.
Being worse. There are other versions of me. Be worse than who I am.
Right. I think that when he was saying this, because Sylvie was like, he's lying, this is a trick. And that's where you've seen the difference between Sylvie and Loki.
Exactly. This is what I call this in the episode, is this is kind of where we start to see the curve in the road and the rift between Loki and Sylvie, because, you know, the timekeeper challenges Sylvie because she has very, what do you like to call it, very lower level thinking.
Right. Because think about this. Sylvie's been running around through different time portals since she was 8 years old.
Yep.
She's still on survival mode. You know, Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Are we going psychology?
That's right. She is still on the bottom level of food, drink, eat, sleep. Loki's not on that level.
He's changed, and like I said to you, he's changed to being a loving, which I can't believe I'm saying he's a loving person, but a compassionate person now from his experiences.
Excuse me. I think that Loki's always been compassionate.
Yeah.
It's just been down underneath, taking people's eyeballs out. But see, Loki wasn't on the survival level when he was doing this stuff. He was on, I want to be the tip top.
I want to be controlled. I want to be in power. Right.
And that's something that the timekeeper was giving to him. You know, but Loki was able to think about it at another level, because you have to think about this. Loki is a prince of Asgard. He's had the best teaching, the best life,
he's had
the best everything.
They're the same person, but they've had very different exposure to life.
Yes. She is, I'm telling you, she's just, I got a hammer and I'm going to beat anybody with it.
She's a street girl.
Yeah.
It's kind of like street girl, city boy. I don't know what you want to call it.
Well, I don't know. Educated. Yeah, because I'm thinking, you know, Loki probably had a nanny. He had the best tutors, teachers.
A royal toothbrusher.
Yes. the best that being a prince can give you.
Right, exactly.
And now, you know, just for a minute, I'm finna drive off the cliff, right?
Exactly.
When I was talking to, you said exactly. When Tom and I was talking about this before. And Loki is Prince Harry. And Thor is Prince William, right? And I'm not saying that Prince Harry is terrible or anything like that.
We love Prince Harry.
We do, you know.
And Meghan.
And William, you know, and you know, but that's a different responsibility. Heavy the head that wears the crown.
Exactly.
And Loki wanted that crown, and I'm not saying Harry want the crown. It's not the same, but it's different responsibilities.
Exactly.
You know,
and expectations. You know, if you're going to be heir to the throne, like Thor was, it's like, okay, well, we expect you to be
a certain way,
very kingly or very princely, but when you're not heir, it's like, we don't really expect a lot out of you. And
exactly.
I think that's kind of what happened with Loki.
Yes, and he was like, I want this so bad. And Thor, he always said it, Thor doesn't deserve this, because Thor was reckless and arrogant,
right, because
he knew he was going to be king,
right,
and that's why his father punished him, was like, you don't deserve this.
Yep.
And
with this rift that's emerging through these discussions, remember the timekeeper challenges Sylvie. He says, you know what, grow up, Sylvie.
Yeah, oh my gosh,
grow up, Sylvie. Is this, and the question was, is this personal to you, or is this practical? And what he's trying to get across to her,
right,
is, you know what, change your thinking.
She can't, though. All she has is a hammer, and then that's when he says, he's like, we're all villains here. Sylvie has one thing in her backpack, and social workers, y'all know what I'm talking about, and that's a hammer. In her case, it's a knife.
Yeah.
And she cannot see past her own rage and getting what she wants.
It's the revenge. It's that revenge aspect, and that's what, in this episode, the end of the episode, this is what widened the chasm, the rift between these guys, where they're talking about trust. Yeah. And Loki's talking about, in a kind of a tongue-in-cheek kind of a metaphorical way. He says, I believe the timekeeper.
Right.
And where Sylvie's like, you know what? I think you want the throne.
Right.
I want you. And Loki says to her, I remember this is kind of the proverbial end of it, but he's like, you can't trust and I can't be trusted. But Loki says something very profound where he's like, you know what? The cost of getting this wrong is just too great, too great.
Right.
And but he was trying to empathize with Sylvie. He's like, look, I've been where you've been.
Yes.
And I felt what you felt.
Right. Yeah, exactly. He's like, I'm in this moment, I've been where you are, and I felt what you felt, because they're the same person.
Yeah.
And he's thinking about all those times, and I can imagine this, that he has betrayed Thor. He betrayed his mom. His family, it was his family. All I wanted is what I wanted.
Right, exactly.
Without thinking about anybody else.
Exactly.
And he's trying to help her with that higher order thinking. But she can't see past that because she been raised by wolves,
Exactly.
She been raising herself. Yeah. So she's got this good and evil. She wants to be a part of it. I think back to the time when they're sitting outside and he wants to share his blanket. She's like, I don't have no friends. You're my only friend. I don't know anything.
Right.
But I do know, like she said, she risked her life to try to get to him and find him.
Yeah.
She don't know why, because she only got a hammer.
Yeah. And so, but go through the end of the episode where it's like, okay, there's that big romantic kiss, but they're fighting.
Yeah.
And we roll along where she blasts him into that time portal.
Yeah.
And kills the timekeeper. So we end with her. It's like, okay, I killed the timekeeper, but you know what? Now what? And you notice when you looked at the episode, what did she do? She just sat down on the ground.
She sat down on the ground.
It's like, well, was revenge so sweet that I felt fulfilled? And I'll be honest, I don't think, this is my personal opinion, I don't think she felt very fulfilled at the end, because revenge is never as sweet as it's perceived. And I think she felt like, be honest, she felt like, now what?
Yeah. And the timekeeper was like, listen, I told you, I will see you soon.
Yeah.
His
last breath was, see you soon.
Exactly.
And we're assuming, and it's probably fairly reasonable, that it's going to be a worse timekeeper than him.
Yeah, and he's already said that.
Yeah.
He has already said that. And I felt sorry for Loki, because he's on the other end at the TVA sitting there, and he's crushed.
Yeah.
He's heartbroken because he's finally given his heart to someone for real.
Yeah. Love and compassion.
Yeah.
And I mean, really love and compassion.
Exactly.
And you wouldn't necessarily think of a character like Loki as having those qualities.
Right.
But, she and I were talking this morning, and we're like, well, how long has Loki been there? I mean, eons, right?
Yeah.
Eons to mature, to change, to be a better person. I mean, that sounds corny, but that's really what happened.
We saw snippets of his life with Owen Wilson, you know, because we presume he was like, you know what, you're a terrible friend, and he was like, whoa. But friendship is built up, just like with the judge, you know. She was like, Renslayer, we've been together forever. So there's all these dichotomies and relationships going on, and
over years,
over eons.
They're transparent to us as the watchers, because we're like, well, we're watching. Okay, that was last week. Now it's this week, but all that time that passed, and all the love and maybe tears, and laughter that ensued through those eons, that helped shape everybody. It shaped, plus the remember the enchantments and all that really started to open up. And really, I thought about it this morning. I thought, well, the enchantments from SYFY are like, a way to communicate and let people know who they are, kind of a revelation. Whatever you want to call it.
It takes the blinders off. It takes the glasses off, and they're able to tap back into who they really are. And I think that SYFY, for me, just couldn't move behind
she couldn't get out
beyond the last, the first the hierarchy of needs.
She couldn't get out of her own way.
She couldn't. And it was sad for her, because most people, in real life aren't imitating life. If they don't move out of their own way, they end up sad and alone. And that's just the way, as a social worker, when I work with people that are repeat offenders and they're going back to jail over and over again, those people have one thing in common, that they can't get out of their own way.
And they can't handle a new, I hate to use this word, but reality, because somebody gets out of prison or something, they can't. Some may not be able to adapt or readapt to their new, going back to the word conditions, their new situations.
Because the world has changed so much.
Exactly.
And that's the way with SYFY. SYFY, the world was changing around her, and she couldn't adapt. She couldn't adapt to that different mindset. That there is a gray area in this good and evil. And he was like, listen, and this is the part that got me. He was like, listen, you can just go back and tell everybody at the TVA, you're just working for the greater good. You can free everybody's mind. But she wouldn't even accept that part. Just ultimate destruction was her answer. Regardless of what it did to everyone else around her.
And remember, as we wrap up and go through this at the end, so Loki's there. You could just see on his face how devastated he was and how crushed he was. So he gets up. He's running around. He's still got his little business casual. His business casual, his tie shirt on, running around. And he's thinking what? He's thinking, okay, I'm back to my own universe.
Well, he thought he was at the old TVA.
He was at the old TVA. And okay, Mobius is there. B-15's there. He's running around. And what do we see going on in those crazy 1970s computer monitors? The timeline is like branching and disrupting and imploding, whatever you want to call that. And even Mobius was very insightful, and he says, you know what, there's no turning back. And the B-15 here talking, for all time, always. You know, and but Loki's like, oh, okay, they're my friends, or they're people I know. And they're like, who are you?
Because he's actually in she sent him to another multiverse. And I was wondering, was that, a good question? Did she do that on purpose because she didn't want him to be able to work things out?
That's a great question.
Or did she do it by accident? So, which one was it?
And then we're like, we're thinking we kind of knew the answer, but we're thinking, well, why did they? Why don't they know him? And then they flash over. Remember the end?
Mm-hmm.
They flash over to the statue. And in his timeline, his universe, it's like they had the 3 call them androids, because that's what they are, 3 android timekeepers. But it was the statue of the old, formerly super chill timekeeper.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what our assumption is? At least my assumption is okay, this guy's a bad dude or a worse dude.
Yeah,
so,
like you said,
I used the phrase, and we kind of talked about it, but I used the old phrase, okay, this is like a parallel universe, but this is a different timeline, a multiversal changed timeline.
Yeah.
So whichever phrase you want to use, but it was a great, it was a great episode.
It was a great episode.
I can't wait till season 2. Did you have any other thoughts about what
No, the only thing that I noticed, and the comments, I want you guys to comment on this before we tune out, was before they stamped on that season 2, there was Loki's name.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I won't say what it is, but you guys, if you saw what I saw, please comment at the bottom with Loki's first and last name, which I thought was really interesting.
I did too.
And I was like, was it a clue?
I didn't, when we started this whole journey, when we started from episode 1, I didn't know he had a last name.
Yeah, I know, right?
I thought it was Thor. I thought it was Thor, and I thought it was Loki. And I was like, they have a last name? But I guess
they do.
Royal Asgardian family. Something. Name.
Yeah. So, comment below with that. And also comment with your thoughts. What did you think about the
series?
episode?
Yeah, what did you think of the first season? And tell us about that.
And what did you talk about this last episode?
Yes.
What was the best parts for you? If you want to take a deep dive, go over to the community and our community channel and talk about it. We will be chatting over there really soon.
Yes.
But we are going to wrap this up for now. It is a little bit longer, like I said, than our usual ones. But we just want to dive in and kind of decode this episode, which I think we did.
Yes, there's a lot of decoding to do.
Yes. So, for now, we just want to say goodbye.
Goodbye, guys. Marvel Heads, I'm Tom.
And I'm Cathy.
Have a great day, guys. We'll talk to you next week.
Next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.